If you will indulge me, and welcome to the program, everybody watching on YouTube, in the chat, maybe listening on your favorite podcast platform, welcome to the program. If you will indulge me to kick off the show today, once again, and I swear I'm not going to lead the witness, I'm just going to ask a couple of questions to Zach Phillips, who will be on his way to Nashville tomorrow, traveling with Nick Alberga. I know he's looking forward to that. Here is what I would like to ask. Where did you play your minor hockey?
York Simcoe Express.
Okay.
And
our guests today are Erin Ambrose and Robert Thomas. We'll start with Erin first from PWHL Montreal, Le Victoire. Where did Erin Ambrose play her minor hockey in OMHA?
That would be the York Simcoe Express.
Okay, all right. And Robert Thomas, point per game player, St. Louis Blues. Where did he play his minor hockey in the OMHA?
I believe that would be the York Simcoe Express.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is your booking strategy for the day? So we should expect Connor McDavid and Sam Bennett and Warren Fogle and Quentin Byfield and Chris Cherney. You just tell me. Daniel Sweep, maybe, former tough guy for the Owen Sound Attack. You just tell me where I should stop here. Dan Catanacci, former drafted by the Buffalo Sabre. I think he plays junior Sault Ste. Marie. Downey. Yeah, you just let me know where you want to stop. Is this going to be a hot and cold running YSE show for the next little while?
Well,
just going to the YSE alumni.
Quentin Byfield.
Yes, your Los
New
Angeles
Hook.
Kings. Yeah, keep going. Barclay Goodrow, maybe. I think he played YSC as well. So that's
I think so.
Okay, very good, Zach. All right. Listen, while I got you here, as I mentioned, Robert Thomas is going to be coming up here in a couple of moments. Also, Erin Ambrose from the Montreal Victoire. One thing, Philly, that I wanted to get to early, and let me make sure that they tee this up properly. So, coming out of the general managers' meetings, one of the more profound and emotional things coming out of it was Tom Fitzgerald, New Jersey Devils general manager, whose son was cut with a skate, which is always difficult to discuss, and the visuals are always frightening. This is all under the sort of umbrella of what happened a couple of years ago in England with Adam Johnson, and we all think back to 1989 with Clint Malarchuk, and then 2008 with Richard Zednek, etc. And we've seen plenty of skate cuts as well. You know, an interesting story on Sabres Live with Brian Duff and Martin Biron, who, by the way, are just outstanding studio people for the Buffalo Sabres. The Sabres are blessed with a lot of good things. I know as we mentioned yesterday, we kind of pinata them a little bit, but they got really good things around. And Duff and Biron are two of them. Throw Dan Dunleavy and Rob Ray in there too. So on Sabres Live, they brought up a really interesting point, Marty Biron did, about resistant sock technology and Josh Anderson. All right, this is stunning. I'm just gonna turn the recreation over to a clip here from Sabres Live. This is Marty Biron talking about Josh Anderson and Shane Pinto in that Montreal-Ottawa game yesterday. Here we go.
Incredible that this was the first time in his career that Josh Anderson wore cut-resistant socks. He had never worn cut-resistant socks in his career. Wow. And somehow they've been educating the players to wear that. You got Tom Fitzgerald, the GM of the New Jersey Devils, pleading for the league to mandate cut resistance, neck protection, wrist protection, and socks, because Casey Fitzgerald, former Sabres, got a cut to the neck this year playing in the AHL. So as a father and as a GM, he says, this is what we need to do. So all of these put together, Josh Anderson says, you know what, I'm going to try these socks the last few days. He decides to wear them, and it saved his season, maybe saved his career.
Boy, I mean, I don't even know where to begin on this one. First of all, this was, so last year, speaking of minor hockey, my oldest kid, my 2010, got cut on the wrist. Just went into a corner with a guy, hit him, and the kid's foot came up and slashed his wrist. We didn't think anything of it, and he's going to the bench, and he's kind of looking at his wrist, and we get there, he gets to the bench, and all of a sudden they realize, oh man, he's been cut. on the wrist. So hearing Tom Fitzgerald speak earlier this week about it, that resonated with me as a hockey dad. And hearing Marty Biron talk about Josh Anderson, just like, thank God that he put the socks on, because you look at Pinto's skate digging into his Achilles. And I think we're all on the same page that Erik Karlsson hasn't been the same player since Matt Cook sliced the Achilles with that unfortunate incident in the Pittsburgh-Ottawa game. And it just goes to show you, like, the players now are, big, strong, fast. Blades are going all over the place. That it's not just throat cuts, it's also wrist, it's also Achilles, it's all over, just above the knee. We've seen players sliced as well. And I know, Philly, that players don't like being told what to wear. Like, they don't like being told, this is what I wear and this is it. And after Adam Johnson, some guys threw on neck guards and have subsequently taken them off. Some still do, but it's still pretty rare. And I understand the players push back because they want to wear what's comfortable. But what I think is lost in all of this, and I was saying this on the What Chaos podcast earlier on today with DJ Bean and the great. I think that he's I just call him Black Bean, like Blackie and. Ever heard that before? Pete Blackburn and DJ Bean. I just call him Black Bean. It's Black Bean Podcast. No. Anyway, the point that I was trying to make, I was making it earlier, is the one thing that's left out of the conversation are the fans. The fans that have to see this, right? This isn't just about the players. And I think about Malarchuk in '89 and that game, and he came back like 2 weeks later to play, and he's talked about how he wasn't mentally prepared for it, wasn't emotionally prepared for it, but he wanted to get back in the game. He actually told me in one of the stories that Clint mentioned to me years ago, this is all the era before cell phones, right, before texting guys. And there he said they're playing against the St. Louis Blues, and they're doing the pregame lap and going around and around, and he sees Steve Tuttle, who was the guy that sliced his throat, and they're about to skate towards each other, and Tuttle has this look on his face like, I'm so sorry. I don't know what to say. And Malarchuk was trying to figure out a way to break the tension and break the mood. And he's approaching Tuttle, and he comes up to him and he says, "Geez, Tuttle, you're cutthroat, man." And totally dissolved all the. But a couple of things from that too. Like Jim Pizzatelli was the trainer for the Buffalo Sabres at the time, Vietnam medic. And it's a good thing it happened when it did early in that game in the first period, because Pizzatelli's right there in the first period. He's able to get to Malarchuk, put pressure on the neck, and stop the bleeding, and essentially save his life. We'd all hate to think of what would have happened if that would have been the second period, and Pizzatelli wasn't able to get to Malarchuk as quickly as he did. Would we still be here saying that Malarchuk was in a place to say, "Hey, Tuttle, you're cutthroat"? Probably not. And one of the things that I think of is all those people that had to watch live in Buffalo and had to watch on television. Nobody wants to see that. And I think that gets lost in this conversation as well, that you shouldn't have to go to therapy after watching a hockey game. Are accidents going to happen? Yes, absolutely. Are injuries going to happen? Of course injuries going to happen. This is a really big, tough, strong, violent game. I get it. But I don't think it is much of an ask considering how catastrophic it can be. And we do have evidence of it. And even just Josh Anderson last night in that Montreal-Ottawa game, to ask the players to put on neck guards. Anyhow, speaking of players, Erin Ambrose aboard and Robert Thomas aboard. Do you have a thought on that one, Philly?
I agree 100%. I was wearing the cut-resistant socks like as soon as you could wear them. The wrist stuff wasn't a thing. I don't think when I was playing yet, so like that protection wasn't there. It might have started coming in when I was like wrapping up, but that was kind of it. If it was there, probably would have worn it then. Probably should wear it now, to be honest. But I agree. It's one of those things where it's like, if you can reduce the risk of it, you should be doing that. This is something you should be doing. It's not like something that can be completely eliminated, but you can do your best. You can do your part to make sure it doesn't happen so often or as extreme. Why would this not just be common amongst players and leagues all the way through whatever age group it is?
I get the players don't like to be told what to do and what to wear, and they're comfortable with what they're comfortable with, and this is how they make their living. I just want to point out that nobody needs to see that in a hockey game. Anyhow, on that cheery note, welcome to the program. Daily Outlines, presented by our friends and partners at FanDuel. This is what's coming up on your program today. We remind you, make every moment more with North America's #1 sportsbook. That is FanDuel. So coming up on the program today, we've got a number of things to go over on the show, and a pretty interesting, last day at the NHL General Managers meetings in Florida. We'll get to some of those in a couple of moments. We will get to some of your emails at thesheet@nationnetwork.com. In the meantime, Robert Thomas from the St. Louis Blues will join us here in a second. Can the Blues actually do this? The surging Blues, also Erin Ambrose. Tough one last night. They lose to Boston in a shootout. That is the Montreal Victoire. Erin Ambrose, the defending defender of the year in the PWHL, will stop by. The playoff picture, clear as mud, although congratulations, Montreal Canadiens. Right now, the only Canadian team not in a playoff spot, Calgary. And it's probably going to be either Calgary or Vancouver, right? Maybe? St. Louis? Some of your emails at thesheet@nationnetwork.com. A couple of interesting ones, including one about colored ice. And you know that hits me where I live, Philly. So we're going to get to that here in a couple of moments. Where do you want to begin before Robert Thomas joins us?
I want to talk about Stankoven first because that's the big thing that's been happening. I saw him on Chaos talking with those boys. I saw Matt Larkin had an article come out on DFO. So I want to get your thoughts on all that, especially considering you were the one who had the inside track on everything that was going on between Carolina and Dallas.
That was an interesting time. Okay, so Matt Larkin, and I should really encourage everyone to go read this at our website. Matt Larkin did an interview with Logan Stankoven. The trade from Dallas hurt Logan Stankoven, but the excitement in Carolina trumps it. Like, I'm cheering for Logan Stankoven. I know that he probably thought he was going to be a Dallas star for life. I don't know that Jim Nill necessarily wanted to move any of the kids off this team, the Borks, Bichels, in this case, Logan Stankoven as well. But when you have someone like Mikko Rantanen who's being offered to you and is willing to sign a contract extension, all of a sudden, best laid plans of mice and men. But in this interview, and I just want to show you a couple of passages from it, some really interesting quotes from Logan Stankoven about how surprised he was. Stankoven, I was definitely pretty shocked leading up to the deadline. I don't know if you had seen or not, but our general manager, Jim Nill, was pretty confident in his words, saying, quote, our young guys are kind of untouchable, and, quote, not really going to trade them or put them on the trading block. So hearing that, as a younger guy, you feel pretty secure and safe, but that wasn't the case. Hockey's a business, and in his point of view, you're trying to make the team as best as possible, and you want to try and win the Stanley Cup. Winning's all that matters, right? So I was definitely shocked by the trade, but I couldn't be happier now being in Carolina. It's been great so far. I've really enjoyed myself. Wow, that is always interesting when you go back at your former team's general manager like that, by saying, I kind of thought that Nill was going to make sure that everybody who was a kid was going to be off limits. I understand Jim Nill's position in this as well. There's only so many chances you get to bring in someone like Mikko Rantanen, and whereas you go into trade deadline, you're not planning on moving Bork, you're not planning on moving Leon Bichel, you're not planning on moving, in this case, Logan Stankoven. But, man, how do you go back to your fan base and say, we had a chance to get Mikko Rantanen and we passed it up, with all due respect, because we didn't want to move Logan Stankoven? And you don't know who Logan Stankoven's going to turn into, but still, that's a tough spot for Jim Nill to be in. I'm sure that going into deadline, he didn't want to touch any of those kids. Just do it with other players and draft picks, essentially. He traded a couple of draft picks as well as part of that, first rounders, as well as part of that deal. But I don't think that he had any desire going into deadline to move any of those kids. You have a thought on Stankoven saying, our GM said he wasn't going to move us, but here I am in Carolina?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty honest response. I'm kind of glad that you get to hear that kind of stuff. Again, it's like what I tell you. You want the players to, and people in the league, to speak freely and tell us honest answers. And then when they do, a lot of times people are like, I can't believe the guy said that. But this is one
I
that
can
I'm
believe
like,
it. I think it's good.
yeah,
Good
this
for him.
makes sense. Like, this is good. Good for him for saying that. It's probably true as well, considering like he did come out and basically say, "Yep, we're not moving these guys." That was basically everything we had heard, and then all of a sudden, Rantanen's being moved again. Probably pretty shocking to have that happen when you've kind of. I mean, I can't say for certainty, but you've probably been told you're going to be here forever. We want you here forever.
They
so
love him.
to
They
find
love
out
him.
all
Like
of a sudden,
the whole organization adored this guy. Like, trust me, like the respect and love for
Why
Logan
wouldn't
Stankoven in
you?
Dallas was deep. This could not have been an easy decision for Jim Nill whatsoever. I would have loved to have been in the room when they had the conversation about moving Logan Stankoven. That would have been an interesting one.
And then finding out via Twitter definitely is probably not the way you want to do it, but probably more
way it goes.
common nowadays than what
the way
it
it goes.
normally was. So
That's
yeah.
just the reality. Because I'll tell you what, like everybody who's in the NHL now have all been part of, like, when they were kids at trade deadline, finding out about trades of NHLers before they got to the NHL. So anyhow, speaking of players, we got one of the NHL's best joining us right now. He is Robert Thomas from the St. Louis Blues. He joins me on the sheet. Robert, first of all, thanks so much for stopping by. I know you just probably finished practice and you're hopping on with me right now. So Erin Ambrose is going to be joining next. Zach Phillips is my producer. So this is York Simcoe Express Day on the sheet here with yours truly. Before we get into the NHL, memories of playing YSE, and if you have a story or two about Zach Phillips, go for it.
Oh, geez, that's a long time ago. Obviously, I'm so pumped he's on the show with you now. You know, such a great guy, and obviously we've had a good relationship since Junior Jeff, and couldn't be better. And happy you guys are rocking the show. So we've had a lot of good memories. I don't even know where to start.
Let me ask you this. Okay, you're not a hockey player right now, Robert Thomas. You are a scout. Okay, so like put on a black shirt and a black jacket and get a bad cup of coffee in your hands and give me the scouting report on young Zach Phillips, my producer.
Zach Phillips, I would say responsible player, two-way guy, good stick. Could make plays too. Was always in the right areas. That's what would be my scouting report.
Good guy in the room.
Great guy in the room.
They don't flood the room.
No.
Thanks so much for hopping on today. First of all, like, here's the question we're all asking about your team. Can you guys do this? Like, give us the vibe in the room here. Like, it's a really cool story. You know, the Parayko injury is really unfortunate and horrible timing, but like, what's the mood in the room? And obviously you guys think you can do it. There's a belief there, but give us the temperature of the room right now.
Yeah. You know, this year's been kind of up and down for us. You know, we obviously had a coaching change early in the year. We battled a bunch of injuries, and you know, we had a bunch of new guys come in, and so it takes a little bit of time to adapt. You know, once we made the coaching change, we felt like we were playing really good hockey. We just weren't able to find a way to win, or they would score with, you know, a minute left and we'd lose. So our results were kind of based on how we felt like we were playing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we went into the break, came out. Obviously, Colton and Binner had a great Four Nations tournament. Binner came back. He's been unbelievable for us, and we just kind of found this little mojo, and the things that we were doing before the break were turning into results, and now we got a ton of momentum, and we feel great. And the belief's always been in our room with how good we are and how good we can be, and now everyone's seeing it.
You know, you mentioned Four Nations. I mean, it's such a galvanizing tournament for everybody, and just an absolute home run for the NHL. It was, I would imagine, fun to be part of as an NHLer watching it. Like, here's the thing that I want to ask you about, though. Okay, so we see the two fights off the draw, the Tkachuk brothers go, and okay, so like that's to be expected. What went through your mind when you saw Parayko say, "Okay, I'm going to do this with JT Miller"? Because he doesn't do this very often at all.
No, he doesn't. But when he does, it's he's scary when he does. There's something that switches in his head. I remember I think it was last year he fought in San Jose, and it was right in front of our bench. And I just remember seeing something flick in his eyes, and he was terrifying. I didn't want anything to do with him. So
Interesting that it's San Jose and his eyes roll back in his head and he just goes for it.
Yeah, so it was really cool. Obviously the nicest guy in the world, but he's got some competitive fire under there.
Thoughts on Jordan Bennington in the tournament? I mean, there was a lot made about him all tournament long. Like I was saying the same thing. Like there was always one moment in every game where you're like, Bennington's awesome, awesome, awesome. But there was that one moment, and then in that final game, he erased all doubt for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is we've all known it for years. Now everyone knows it is. In those big moments, he always comes through, and he always steps up and rises to the occasion. And I think everyone saw it in that final game. Some of the huge saves he had that kept the game close and ultimately led him to the win in overtime. So he's a special competitor, and I'm glad everyone got to see it. Kind of sucks. He's our secret weapon, and the cat's out of the bag now. But he's a special player.
But players know, like everybody in the NHL knows. Like in the last couple of years, he's been like right in there with the Vezina conversation. Like players know how good this guy is, right?
Yeah, I think everyone knows how good he is. I think one thing that people didn't really recognize is how well he plays the puck. He's like a third defenseman back there. I see it now. Teams aren't dumping the puck to him, and he's something he's really worked on the last couple of years, and it helps out our D a ton.
Someone in the chat saying, ask Robert if Jake Neighbors is going to be a stud. I think he already is.
Yeah, he is 100%. He's a guy that he's got a lot more skill than people think. People think of him as a hard worker, checker, all that stuff. But some of these goals he scored this year, and he's really developing his puck possession. He's making a ton of plays. He's comfortable with the puck. So many things that, I mean, he's still so young and still only going to get way better, but he's a real heartbeat for our team.
Let me ask you about Jim Montgomery. When the coaching change was made, I don't think that anybody was surprised. I think many of us all thought that eventually Jim Montgomery was going to end up as the head coach of the St. Louis Blues at some point. We didn't know it was going to be this quickly, but nonetheless, there it is. What has he meant to you? Like, is there anything specific? Like, okay, this part of my game is different now, or I learned this from Monty. Like, what's different, Robert, about your game with Monty behind the bench?
I think a couple things. When I look back when he was an assistant coach with us, he really took a big step with guys like Buchnevich, Kyrou, and myself. He really took it in his arms to really help us and take that next jump. I think a lot of us give him a ton of credit for that. It's different when he's an assistant to a head, and he can really take on those challenges and really help us out. So those guys, us three, were kind of really comfortable with him in that way. And I think he's just freed up a lot of us in the way we play, especially with myself. He's worked a lot, on the 200-foot game, being better in the D zone, how to, I get the tough matchups most nights. So how to kind of manage that and be on the right side of things and not kind of cheat for offense. So he's taught me a ton, obviously, as an assistant coach and now as a head coach. And it's been amazing having him back.
It's interesting. You mentioned you get the tough matchups. I think about, whenever I watch St. Louis play, I always think, like, man, look what Robert Thomas has in the Western Conference. There's like McDavid and Draisaitl and McKinnon and Rupe Hintz and Mark Scheifele. It's like there's no nights off for you, Robert. None.
It's always fun. You love the competition. You love playing against
That's
the best.
fun.
Yeah, absolutely. It helps. Obviously, the Pranko injury sucks, but having him on the back end, he's an absolute beast. And seeing him in practice every day, and I don't think people like playing against him. He's so fast, strong, and he's got a long stick. And so that injury has sucked, but at the same time, you got Broberg and Falker who have really stepped up and taken on that role and kept our momentum going.
Yeah, you mentioned Broberg. What did you make of the offer sheets in the off season? Like, that's like, first of all, like from a media point of view, like that's baller move. Like, all right, Army, like that's, here we go. There's some juice in this squeeze. What'd you think about it?
I was really excited. We hadn't played against those two, so I didn't know too much about them, but whether it's guys, in Edmonton or guys that played against them in the finals. Everyone was raving about those two, and just the skill. And, when they get a big opportunity, they're ready to take it. And they've been really good for us, to say the least.
I want to ask you about life always changes when you become a new parent, obviously. You're a new dad. I know your parents are thrilled to be grandparents. How has that, not just as a player, because your rhythms are all different now, I'm sure, but like, how has that changed you as a player? How has that changed you as a person? And congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. Honestly, it's been one of the greatest things. It might sound bad, but I promise you it's a good thing. Your life kind of changes. Your whole life's not hockey. And I think it allows you to have a good balance. You spend your mornings at the rink, you're able to be more focused on it. And when you get away from the game, you're able to kind of reset a little bit and spend some time with the family, and it gets your mind off things. And it makes you perform better and have a different perspective on kind of whether it's issues or the way things are handled and stuff like that. And I think it just matures you quickly, and it's been an amazing year, and it just keeps on getting better.
So there's not, like, in the back of your mind, you're not saying to yourself, if she's a right-hand shot, we add 15% to the contract. Let's make sure she shoots right, hon. Is there some hockey dad popping out yet, Robert Thomas?
Definitely. Whether it's, hockey or sports dad, I'm already thinking of, you're in the summertime, your tea times and teeing it up with her. There's lots of things we're always thinking of. My wife Jen played hockey growing up as well, so there's definitely going to be hockey in there somewhere.
That's awesome. The last couple of days it's been really warm here in we're live in the same area. It's been really warm here, and so everything's melting, and the rink in my backyard is pretty much done, and all the pucks are emerging from all over the backyard, right? You know what that vibe is like. And your dad Scott's picked up pucks in the backyard for a number of years. What was that backyard rink like for you? And who else did you share that ice with?
Yeah, obviously Zach would come over a lot. We had a bunch of our YSC team that would always come over and play. But yeah, the pucks always line up on the fence in the springtime when the snow melts. For me, obviously my dad played hockey. My mom didn't. So that's kind of where I learned how to play. Wasn't so much, watching from your parents or watching TV. It was just playing on the backyard rink. A lot of the kids in the neighborhood were a couple years older, so you kind of learn how to survive out there. And I think it helps you develop skills quicker. And whether it's small area games or tight turns, there's not much room on a weirdly shaped backyard rink. So that's where I learned how to play and really fell in love with the game. And you never really have those goalies and stuff out there. You just have little nets. So you try and make as many passes into the net as you can. So I think that's where some of the way I play comes from.
Did you play well in Peterborough with those weird tight corners because you played in your backyard? I mean, outside to go back to London Knights days. Play well in Peterborough because of those tight corners?
Yeah, the square corners in Peterborough. I only got to play there a couple times. Played there more so in Hamilton at the end, but an interesting rink. It definitely was a weird feel.
You're being very diplomatic right now. I applaud that.
Yeah, it wasn't the most fun. But I remember they used to take advantage of it all the time where you'd rim one on the boards and somehow it'd end up in the slot.
Yep.
So I remember seeing that a couple times, and I was like, "Oh, that doesn't seem fair."
Okay, let me a couple of things left here for you. One, I have to get in because I'm really curious about this, and I'll frame it this way. I remember talking to Trevor Linden at Hockey Day in Canada. I can't remember where we were, Winkler or Northwest Territories or somewhere, and I said to him, "When did it really dawn on you that you were done, that you were retired and you're never going back?" And he said, "It didn't really feel like I had retired until I was at the dentist getting my teeth fixed, because there's no point in fixing your teeth when you're playing because they're just going to get messed up anyway." He goes, "At that moment, I felt I was retired." And I'm always curious about players that do their teeth while they're playing. Like, you have great looking teeth. Why'd you do that?
Geez. I lost my, I guess, three teeth in junior.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I was just sick of just having one tooth missing. Um, and so I remember this story because I didn't want to spend the money and get the
Yeah.
teeth fixed because I knew I
Yeah.
was going to lose them again at some point. So I was waiting for someone to hit me in the mouth. And we were playing in Calgary, and it was actually Parenko high stick me in front of the net, and
Yep.
it took out a tooth and a half of mine, and I was mic'd up for the game, and I remember getting this little clip sent to me later because I got off, and I was like, "Did it get my teeth?" And he's like, "Yeah, I got 1.5 years," and I was like, "Yes, I get my teeth now." So that's kind of my story, and
You win. You win.
yeah, so
You win.
they're all pretty much bridged together. So if I get hit again, then you just take them out and put new ones in, and that's kind of how it goes.
That's awesome. You win. All right, last question for you. We'll let you get on with your day. I know all your days are busy, especially now as a new dad. Zach Phillips, hop on. Last question to you. Zach Phillips, you're on with former teammate Robert Thomas. Go ahead. Last question's yours.
Rob, can you tell the people that I did not pay you to say anything that you said when you first got on the show here today?
No, you did not.
No.
A couple winks though in the text messages.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you hopping on here, and thanks for doing this. I have one question for you, though. You have won at every level that you've played at. Stanley Cup, Memorial Cup, OHL, World Juniors. You've won everything like that. What does it take to be the winner that you are, Rob Thomas? What does it take behind the scenes to be as successful as you are?
Ooh,
Skating.
yeah. Honestly, it's teamwork. There's no other way to do it. I've been very fortunate enough to play with so many talented players and great teams. But the one thing they all have in common is just there's a feeling in the locker room. There's a feeling on the ice when you're playing with each other. You're having so much fun because it really takes everyone. And I think the teams that are the closest are the ones that are the most successful, not only in the short term, but long-term success. And that's the one thing I can't stress enough is teamwork.
Well, as we like to say around these parts, Robert, there's no I in team, but there's two I's in invoice. That's what we say here in the media. Anyhow, Robert, thanks so much for stopping by. Best of luck the rest of the way with the Blues. It's a fun ride, man. Like, good luck getting this team in there. Always a delight watching you. Always a delight having a conversation as well. You be good. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, thanks, guys. We'll see you soon.
There he is, Robert Thomas. There you go, Zach. Hop on there. Hop on there, Zach. Talking about. You ever think that when you're playing YSC with Robert Thomas one day, you'd be interviewing him, or do you think it'd be the other way around?
No, definitely not the other way around. I knew from pretty young that Rob was a pretty special player, so it was definitely not the other way around. I'll tell you that for free.
You know, that too story is hilarious, wanting to get like dental work for free. So Terry Ryan told me a great story about this. Now he told me this on the air, so it's not like I'm telling stories out of school. So Ambrose is coming up here and like, okay, I got 7 minutes to tell this story. I love this one. So he goes to, I think it was Dallas Stars training camp, and he needed to have dental surgery. And he was talking to someone at Dallas and said, like, I need to get my teeth fixed. And they're like, well, you're not under contract here. The only way that we'll fix your teeth is if you get hurt during practice. And so Terry goes, okay, all right, okay. So he said he went back to his hotel room. Terry, I love him. He goes back to his hotel room. He's got a bottle of rum. He's got a hammer and a chisel. He's like,
oh, fuck.
Puts it up to his tooth. And he's got the hammer. Can't do it. Pours a drink. Has a shot. Okay, I'm going to do this now. Puts it up. Still can't do it. This goes on and on and on for a while. He keeps having a few more drinks and finally does it. Knocks out a couple of teeth. Okay. Says he goes to the skate the next morning. Okay. Has his teeth. Makes sure that he doesn't talk to anybody. He's like, so no one can see that he's lost him. Puts his teeth inside his hockey pants. He said first lap, he goes, burns around the rink and fakes that he trips and does like a header right into the boards. Goes into his hockey pants and pops out his two teeth. and comes up and he's holding his 2 teeth, and Dallas ended up paying for all of his dental surgery.
That's so good. I would not have the balls to do it. I'll tell you that. I would not have the balls to do it. Like, being a kid and like pulling the tooth out is one thing.
Yeah.
Smashing them in with chisel is nuts.
Yes.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got that story from Rob, though, because I remember when he got the teeth done, the first thing I thought was, what are you doing? Like, why did you do that, Rob? But that makes a lot of sense, and that's hilarious, too. It's a good story to get.
We should get TR on to tell that story. Give us a teeth story, TR. And TR is the best storyteller in the business. Anyhow, listen, like I'm with you on, like, Robert Thomas is a winner. Like, everywhere he's gone. Now, he played up too, right? Like, growing up, he played.
Yeah.
Always
he was a
played
year
up.
younger than me, so he played up with me.
Yeah. I was told that he played 2 years up a couple of years too, or maybe he was just like APing 2 years up. I don't know, but he was always someone that would always play up no matter what level he was at. You know the great Berkey story with Yager with that, playing up. You know this one? Interviewing Yager at the draft. This would have been the 91. Interviewing Yager the 91 draft. And so, like, Berkey's, I don't know if you ever talked to Berkey about how he does, like, the interviews with the kids, like the combine interviews. And I've been part of it. Like, I've seen him do it. It's pretty intense. And so he's interviewing Yager, and he says, how many teams have you been captain of? Yager says, none. Never been a captain. And so all the scouts are on, red flag, no leadership abilities, blah, 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 writing it down. Then Yager goes, because I always played 3 years up. They're not going to make the young kid the captain.
Jesus.
I was 3 years younger than everybody. Like, okay, fine,
yeah.
No wonder you were never captain of any of your teams. Standing by for Erin Ambrose from the Montreal Victoire of the PWHL. A couple of things that I wanted to mention. One, we mentioned this briefly yesterday with Greg, because it just sort of happened while we were on the air with Wish, and that is the Kremlin readout of the conversation between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump, proposing hockey games between the NHL and the KHL, to which the NHL wisely said, we're just hearing about this now, and it would not be wise, I'm paraphrasing, not be wise of us to comment. If I'm the NHL, I'm absolutely terrified about this being a story. I don't want any part of getting involved in this whatsoever. I think that it fraught with not just spectacular controversy and major issues, whether it's severing relationships with the IIHF, heck, severing relationships with Canada. I think if you're the National Hockey League, you put your heads down right now and hope that the story goes away. And you hope that none of your players lip off about it. Like your JT Miller or Ryan Suter said, I think this is a great idea. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Or if the president decides to make this an issue and take runs at the NHL over it. Like, this one is there's just landmines everywhere with this one. If I'm the NHL, I'm just like horrified at what I heard break yesterday and want no part of it. None. You know what I could see? I could see like a alumni game between, like, players from the Miracle on Ice and those influenced by Miracle on Ice, or Jeremy Roenick's of the world, playing against, like, some old timers from the old Soviet Union / Russia from the 80s and early 90s. Maybe you can see something like that. But NHL, KHL, I'd be horrified if I was the NHL, and I'm pretty sure they are, for this to become a story. I don't think the NHL wants any part of this, nor should they.
No. The thing that I would be the most worried about is just do not have any players say anything or, like, be open to the idea publicly. That's the one where then, oh, yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Oh, don't do this to us. Don't drag us into this. Yeah.
Guys.
Yeah.
No. That's the one where, like, you need to avoid that at all costs. Like, I think I'm pretty confident here the NHL is smart enough to not involve themselves in this in any way, not going to comment in any way. Like,
nope.
they're all smart enough people involved in there. And I'm not trying to say that the players aren't smart enough, but you said it a few times, Jeff. What's the term? Hockey dumb?
There's dumb and then there's hockey dumb.
You don't want that to peek through at any point. Because even if some guy's going to be like, yeah, it would be cool if we had, the best NHL players take on the KHL players, and they're not thinking about it at all.
No.
It's a quote.
Get out of your bubble.
It's a quote.
Get out of your little bubble.
Don't say it.
Don't. Hey, Canada's kind of doing pretty good right now, hey? As far as the NHL, like only one team on the outside right now, the Calgary Flames.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much the Flames want to be flirting with just being on the outside spot. Like I've talked about, I think you want to be in way out. But it's good. It's good for Canadian markets, hockey-related revenue. It's good to kind of flip the bird to the people down south who say, "Oh, it's Canada. The hockey belongs in the States because Canada hasn't won a cup." Put more Canadian teams in there. Give us more of a shot.
Even if you get all 7, and I don't know that any of them got, like, with all due respect, everybody, specifically Winnipeg and Toronto, I don't know if they have a legitimate shot. But a team that I know has a legitimate shot at the Walter Cup are the Montreal Victoire.
Wait.
What?
We just got a text. There's a fire alarm going off in Erin's apartment right as...
No way. Just as she was about to come on?
Right as she was about to come on, she just texted me and said, fire alarm going off. So just give me like 30 seconds here to see if she's okay. These things happen. We'll see.
Go check on Ambrose.
Sorry to do that to you, Jeff.
No.
Sorry to do
Wait.
it.
Go check on Erin and her dog Henry. That is way more important than me. I'll just filibuster and tap dance here a little bit. She's good?
We're good now. Yep.
All right.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. Just want to make sure that Erin's all right. Here she is, number 23 from the Montreal Victoire of the PWHL, the one and only, no stranger to this broadcast or broadcasts elsewhere. She's kind of a media star now. The one and only Erin Ambrose joins me now on the sheet. Erin Ambrose, what's going on with fire alarms in your building? You okay?
I have no idea. It might be a regular thing. I might have gotten an email about it, just missed it. So if that happens again, I apologize.
That's okay. I'm always concerned about your health, but also I'm concerned about Henry's health. Is the dog okay?
Yeah, he wasn't enjoying that, actually.
Fire alarms.
He doesn't usually, but he was on the bed and there was some good grumbling going on. So now he's on the couch. We'll see.
Okay. Well, first of all, how are you? Haven't chatted for a little while. I know tough one last night. That's okay. You're not going to have a perfect season, but nonetheless, Boston's playing some great hockey. Toronto's playing some great hockey as well. But as far as many, if not all, are concerned, you guys are still the top dogs and the PWHL. Does it still feel that way in the room?
Yeah, I think so. I think if you look at the standings, obviously that helps kind of reiterate the feeling. But we have just had a little bit of a dip. I mean, I don't think we've won in regulation in a little while, which is something we would like to get back on track with. At the same time, I think we're learning a lot about ourselves. I think we're learning a lot about the way we need to play, and learning a lot about our opponents as well. So like you said, you're not going to have a perfect season. It'd be great to win every hockey game, but apparently the game of hockey is not that easy. So we're learning that in a lot of different ways.
Okay. Hey, really quickly, before we get back to the PWHL, and I want to ask you some NHL stuff as well. Just had Robert Thomas on, former member of the York Simcoe Express. Zach Phillips is my producer, as you well know, former member of the York Simcoe Express. And I'm talking to someone who also was a member of the York Simcoe Express. When I say YSE to Erin Ambrose, what comes to her mind?
Championships. Mm-hmm. Specifically 2007 OHF championship.
Chris Cherney on that team with you as well, Sean Walker?
Yep, Connor Chris.
The goalie! The goalie!
Yeah, the goalie, Connor Chris. Chris, Sean, trying to think who else kind of... I mean, we beat Marlies in the semifinals. I think it was an OT. I think Connor Crisp scored the goal.
Nice.
Marlies had Scott Lawton, Matt Finn, Adam Pellick, Connor Brown.
I always thought Finn was going to be like a significant NHLer. Did you? Not to
I did.
demean the guy.
And
I
the
thought
Leafs,
like, oh man, this guy's going to be good.
yeah, I mean, he had a great junior career in Guelph. Leafs picked him up in the second or third round, I think. And
Second round pick. Let me check.
Yeah, you look that up, but I agree. He was their stud defenseman. And then Adam Pelech, he amazes me because he was a quiet guy that nobody really knew about, but in the best way possible as a D.
Mm-hmm.
Like you never talked about him because he wasn't putting up points or anything, but I think it's exactly what he does in the NHL too. And you never talk about him because he's just, although he is an all-star,
yes,
you just see the consistency in his game.
How many of your ex-teammates from York Simcoe do you keep in touch with still?
Quite a few of them. We actually did a golf tournament a couple summers ago, so I got to see a lot of the guys. There's one guy that I probably keep in touch with most besides Chris and Sean, which is Taylor Chick from Aurora, Ontario. He actually came to the Battle on Bay last year in Toronto. I had to think of the name there. So nice. Taylor is one that I see every so often, and they put on a golf tournament a couple of years ago, which was really fun.
PWHL at large, the Takeover Tour has been a major success. Like it's sold out buildings everywhere. We're all wondering about expansion. I'm sure the athletes are wondering about expansion. I wonder about Seattle, Vancouver, Denver, and mixing up time zones and, spreading out the PWHL. How much of a conversation is expansion amongst you and your teammates and other players in the league?
It's definitely something that we all kind of bring up every so often. Obviously, there's a lot of excitement around the league, and there's a lot of excitement around expansion. It'd be a phenomenal thing for our game to have it happen. And I know, especially when we were on our West Coast tour, when we stopped in Seattle, Vancouver, and Denver, obviously we talked a lot about what it would be like to have teams out there. And I think when we get together as a national team, like we'll chat about it and say, like, what did you guys think of that city or this city? And for me, obviously, as a Canadian, like I've been so impressed and so proud of all the turnouts in the Canadian cities. Like you said, we've sold out pretty much all of the buildings that there's been in a game in Canada. And then for the US ones, like they've been great. Seattle was so much fun to play in. Denver was a great crowd. And then to see Detroit top the Denver attendance record, like it just keeps going back and forth. So it's pretty cool, and it's really exciting to see. And I think there's 1 or 2 stops left. I think they go to St. Louis soon.
St. Louis at the end of the month, yeah.
So I it's just been phenomenal. It's great for us to get out to new cities, obviously for the part of expansion, but also just to get more fans, to get more people involved and see our game. We always say that once you kind of watch a game, you're hooked. It's that good of a product. And we've always known that.
Go to a game. Like can I pause you on that? It's not just watch a game, it's go to a game. Like the thing that I noticed is just how different the vibe is. The vibe of the PWHL games it's so different.
It's funny you say that though, because I'm pretty sure a guy named Jeff Marek was in Montreal and didn't come to a PWHL.
My kid had to come home to skate. I know. I was going to go on the Saturday.
I just hear excuses over there. I just hear excuses.
Blame my 2010. Blame TJ. Don't blame me. He had to go home to practice. Here's what I do wonder about. There's 20 games remaining in the season. And
you count everybody?
I look at last season, and last season was the sprint. Okay, last season was let's just get this on and let's do this. And I think you and I talked about this before, like the feeling of going through a full season with like everything. And when does it feel like a grind? Like it happens in the NHL around late January, early February, where it's like, whew, we're grinding it out. Like at various points this year, did it feel that way for you? Like, what does a season feel like?
Yes, it has felt like that 100%. Based on our game yesterday and my body today, like it's a grind right now. I feel like we've had an odd schedule. Like we all had the week off at different points in the season, and ours was really early. And we've kind of, since our break, to be honest, been in a big grind. So for us, it's kind of getting to our World Championship break. So we've got 3 games left before Worlds, and I think that's going to be a big one for a lot of people to reset. and we've got 3 games after the break. So a good amount of time we've got 3 games here to make a big difference and kind of keep our lead in first, and then obviously disperse for the World Championships. But it's just finding a balance. And sometimes it's so hard. Like there's certain things you want to do, but off days are so precious that you don't ever want to give up those off days in any way. And the travel's been tough, but again, we wouldn't change it for anything. We don't want it any other way, other than maybe a little bit smoother travel at times.
So I was wrong. There's 19 games remaining.
Yeah, good math.
On the calendar. So I was 1 game off. Like, look, if you want me to get things, I've said it before, like if you want facts or if you want me to get things right, I'm going to have to ask for more money. Like, I'm sorry. That's just the way just the way it goes here, Ambrose. How much are you and your colleagues talking about Italy?
I wouldn't say it's a lot of conversation. I think it's tough for us, especially Italy there's probably going to be some conversation about it, obviously, when we go to a World Championship. And if people are back together in that situation, like that's going to be a different situation. But with not having centralization this year, it's the first time our national team's ever gone to an Olympics without a centralization. So that's going to be a very different feel for our group. But I know that there's a lot of steps that we're taking in order to make sure that that group is as prepared as we can be when that group gets to Milan. And then, I mean, it's great. Like we have the league and we want to be playing meaningful games, which we will be doing all the way up until Italy. And I mean, for me, I know that it's something that I want to be a part of more than anything. I want to be able to go to an Olympics and have my family be a part of that. And that's a huge goal for me. Sure. But I also know that the only way that I can get there is by having success with Montreal and playing the way that I need to play with this group.
I should have mentioned off the top, the defending defender of the year as well.
Thank you, sir.
Stop being so humble, Erin Ambrose. You're allowed to take a compliment. You're a very good player.
It's somewhere back there. You can't quite see it.
What's that? It's somewhere. Where do you keep
somewhere
it?
Somewhere back there.
Is it?
It's right there.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Okay. Speaking of international hockey, I want to get your thoughts. I know it's been a while, but still, like when we think Canada, USA, like on the women's side, this has been there forever. Like the hockey hatred, that rivalry, the intensity. We may not have seen, fights off the face-off, but it's always been there. What did you make of Four Nations? And what did you make of that Saturday? Because I know you were playing in the afternoon.
Yeah.
What did you make of that Saturday in Montreal, Canada, US? And what did you make of the final? What did you make of the whole tournament?
Well, I would just like to ask if I haven't listened enough of you. Did you change your tune? Did you change your opinion on it?
I did.
Okay.
I went into it skeptical. I was happy to be proven wrong. Good. Completely happy to be proven wrong. It was amazing. Good. It was a fantastic tournament.
Like you said, I was able to be there on the Saturday night for the Canada-US game. And for me, I've never watched a live game that was better than that. I've never been to a hockey game, been in the arena that was better than that game. And I think it was everything. I got asked by somebody a little while ago if they feel that the Canada-US at Four Nations and where we're at in the political world will translate into more hatred towards the U.S. for us as a group with the women's side. And I said, truthfully, it's never going to be like that. And I also think that it was not even about the political side of things with the Four Nations. Like, I think that was just, it has been so long since they played best on best. And when you have the personalities and the rats on both sides that want to be able to do what they can for their team and for their country, that's going to produce what it did at the Bell Center here with obviously those 3 fights in 9 seconds.
But the thing about the politics around it, like I don't think it's anything that either team invited, but that was just sort of thrust upon them. I think maybe a complimentary question, how about that I would ask you about that would be, do you think that you'll get the same thing? That the politics of everything will be thrust on both Canada and the United States next Olympics?
That's a great question.
Like again, it's not your. I know it's not your choice.
Yeah.
Right. No, and I don't think anyone's going to vocalize anything. But it's just look, it's Canada, United States, and I don't think that the president's going to stop talking about 51st state and tariff this, tariff that.
Yeah. Like I know that I think that afternoon game before we play, or before the Canada-US game, was we played New York, and they booed the national anthem at our game. And that was the first time I think that it had happened for us. And I just remember standing on the blue line being like, this is uncomfortable. But I also I understand why Canadians are doing it. I know that it's not against any of the Americans that are on New York, any of the Americans that are on our team in Montreal. It has nothing to do with the hockey
It's
player.
against one person. That's what it is.
And so I understand that side of things. But I will say, as an athlete, it was so uncomfortable. And it's something that you never want to take away people's freedom of speech. I guess that's kind of speech. But it's just an uncomfortable situation. And I think for us as a group, you like passionate fans. You want passionate fans. And then as for kind of going forward, there's possibility and probably a high probability that it will happen. Like you said, it just kind of gets thrust upon you. But I think as athletes, especially as female athletes, there's a lot of things that get thrust upon us and placed on us as burdens almost. And we are the ones that have the voices. We are the ones that can talk about things, but also understand that we're human beings. Like, yeah, we're athletes, but we're also human beings. And at the end of the day, like, I love being a Canadian. I love being from this country. And there's nothing more that I take pride in than getting to represent this country.
Did you talk about that before the game? Like, hey, this may happen.
No, we didn't. I don't know if there were questions about it in the media at all either. And we didn't talk about it afterwards either, really. It wasn't until that night when I was at the game with my D partner, Katie Tabin, when it happened again at the Canada-US game, that I was like, oh, forgot to talk about that. Oops, slipped that one by us.
Hey, we saw in the PWHL this year for the first time, even though it wasn't called as such.
Should have been called a fight. It should have been a fight.
Totally should have been called a fight.
I think Jill Saunier is mad that it wasn't called a fight for her. I think she wants that fight in her record book.
I thought, I'll be honest with you, I thought Comfer was going to have the first fight. I really, really did.
She's a good choice too.
I really did, but your thoughts on the first one?
You know what? I obviously played with Vanishva. I'm still not sure how we pronounce her last name. Played with T last year, she was here in Montreal for a little bit. Part of me is not surprised that it was Jill. Obviously her brother Brennan has had a great career protecting a lot of his teammates, and I gave Jill a lot of heck afterwards because she was in the box. There was a video of her in the box trying to teach her teammate. And I'm like, Jill, you didn't even grab her collar. You were just chucking haymakers. You didn't grab on for 1 second. So don't even pretend like you knew what you were doing.
Okay. So who's next then? And is it number 23, E. Ambrose?
It is definitely not me. We all know that is not in me. I'll give one shot.
Who's it going to be?
Skate away fast.
That's right. I used to always say, I can skate faster scared than you can angry. Who do you think our next combatants could be if you were going to handicap it? I got Comfer still.
I got no names. No names.
Come on.
I'm not giving any.
Make a headline.
I'm not giving anything.
Give us a headline. Ambrose says next to fight.
Nope, because it'll be on an Instagram reel, and I'll be front and center, and I'll probably be getting a call from somebody in the league about it.
Very good. Listen, continued success. Your team is still the class of the league. I know, listen, Boston's nipping at the heels. Toronto's playing great, and it looks like, Sarah Nurse is on the horizon and coming back to play. So that's all good news for this league. You be well, and we will talk soon, and I hope that the rest of your afternoon is fire alarm free. Both for you and for Henry.
I hope so as well.
Yeah.
And I'll just say that I'll be sending the bill for this microphone because you haven't given me enough heck for not having it before. So I'll send the bill your way.
I keep telling people, I'm like, listen, I'm not trying to wrap up your career. You got a lot of hockey to play, but when you're done, like there's a reason, like that.
Hope it works well.
Yeah, it works well. Send that to A. Delich. He's only too happy to pay for that. Me?
Thank you.
I still haven't even spent my communion money. All right, you be well. Thanks, Erin.
Yeah.
Be good. Erin Ambrose from the Montreal Victoire of the PWHL joining us here. Did you know, Zach, that she played for YSC as well with Chris Cherney and Sean Walker?
No way. That fits in the theme of the show.
Yeah,
today. That's
how
perfect.
about that? You know who didn't
Wow.
play YSC? Me didn't play at YSC. Thanks very much. A couple of things here before we
I can't
get
believe
to
that was the question I had for Rob, by the way. I can't believe that was the question I had.
Well,
I didn't
what
know
do
I
you
was
think?
asking a
What do you
question.
think?
That was what I could come
as
up with.
you-
I'm like,
Come on, dude. You know how long? I know we haven't known each other that long, but you know I'm going to spring that one on you.
I
know
should
that's
have
gonna
known.
happen,
I know.
right?
Like
I remember-
I should have known.
One of the best sort of media initiations that I did, me and PJ Stockman, we used to do the show on Saturday evenings, Hockey Central Saturday. We used to call it the world's greatest pregame show because it was on before the Hockey Night in Canada pregame show. So John Shannon was out west. It used to be me, John, and PJ. Paul Bromby was our producer, and Colby filled in for John while he was out west. And so me and PJ worked out a deal. Last 90 seconds of the show. This is live television, okay? Live television on Sportsnet. We stood up and left. And just left Colby on set. There's video of it. I should find it and get it away. Colby for 90 seconds. And he's like green as grass. I think it might have been his first year in the industry. And PJ and I just stood up and left and let him close. 90 seconds. Not the most responsible thing to do, but 90 seconds of network television before the Hockey Night in Canada pregame show. Just heads up. Like, I tend to do shit like that. You know what Colby did? He started thanking people like it was an Academy Award speech. I want to thank Paul Bromby, our producer. Like, what is this?
And I was like, you asked pretty much everything I wanted to ask. So I was like, I think as it went on, I was like, okay, that's it. And then you talked about the teeth. That was the one thing I wanted to know that I was kind of holding on. And then you said that. And I'm like, I started asking and I was like, I don't even know where I'm going with this question. And then, yeah, of course, like that's what I ask. That's what I ask Rob Thomas when he comes on the show. What does it take to be a winner?
When in doubt. So, Rob, we're having a debate here. Are you great or really great?
Like, what was that?
I don't know.
Holy shit. Well,
I'm happy for you, Philly. That's how I'm sending out. By the way, everyone, Zach is going to Nashville tomorrow. Zach is the Leafs Nation vacation. Maple Leafs facing off against Nashville Predators. It's going to be a great time. So give us a time and temp. Give us the 555-1212, the 411. Give us the info on what's happening in Nashville.
So breakdown is we will be there landing there tomorrow morning. Well, I will be producing the Sheet Show. Then we're watching the Rangers. We're watching the Rangers-Leafs game at Carter Hutton's bar, Love and Exile Wine Bar there. Awesome. So if people are in the Nashville area, if you're there, I know a couple of people have reached out to me. John Bankert in the chat reached out as well. They're going to be there. You can come by. Come to the bar. Come say hi. Like, we'll be there. Producer Vic and I will be there. Nick, Rosie
buying drinks?
Everyone's going to be there.
It's on Rosie's tab?
Let's hope so.
Okay, very good.
I think Alberga was putting it on his tab, actually. I think.
That guy squeezes the beaver on the nickel till it squeals. Don't get that guy.
Come by, say hi. I'll be doing a post-game show at the bar after the Leafs-Rangers game tomorrow night. Friday, another show for us, the Sheet Show there on Friday. And then Friday with Berkey, correct? And then Friday from 4 to 6 Central Time, doing a live Leafs Morning Take show. So you can come by and see that as well. And then Saturday night, we're going to the Leafs-Preds game in Nashville. So it'll be cool. It's going to be a lot of fun. I've got a chance to meet a couple of the people who watch the shows, whether it's the Sheet or Leafs Morning Take or After Dark. It's always a fun experience. So really excited to kind of get out there and meet some people. And first time I've ever been in Nashville. So I'm also just personally really excited about
What you're going to find about Nashville is the people are all great. And I've said this from day one of their existence. Some of the best people you will meet in the NHL work for the Nashville Predators. It has been that way from day one. Like, they are salt of the earth. Like, honestly, some of the best people you will meet in this industry work for the Nashville Predators. I hope you get a chance to meet some of them because they're out. And the people in Nashville are tremendous. super nice. Like you're honestly, dude, you're about to have a great experience. You've never been to Nashville, you're about to have a great experience. It's so cool. And more guys now that have played there are choosing to stay and live. Right? Like Ryan O'Reilly and his brother. Like, and more and more guys are saying, like, you know what, this is great. And the other thing too is, and I know they sunk a lot of money into this early, and it is now starting to pay off dividends, although there has been a split between the junior Preds and another organization. The minor hockey there is excellent. Minor hockey there is great, and there's always a lot of like what we call it minor hockey in the States, youth hockey tournaments in Nashville, which is really great to see. Really, really good junior program. Junior Preds is really strong. Really good.
I'm excited. Yeah, it's like St. Louis too, right? Like a lot of those guys go there and they just stay there forever. Like that's where they end up staying after their career. Good spots. Nashville, I'm excited. I will report back. I mean, tomorrow I won't really have anything to give you about what it's like. Friday on the show, I can give you some insight as to my first experiences in Nashville.
Give your liver a rinse, my friend. Give your liver a rinse before you go. Okay, a couple of emails here before we get to the games of the night and wrap things up here because we're being very rude about people's time. The sheet at thenationnetwork.com. What do we have today as far as emails go, young Philly?
Colored ice. Colored ice was one thing we got an email in from. So if you want to get to that one, do you want me to read it? You want to read it? How do you want to do this?
Oh boy, give us the bullet points, man. There's a lot. There's a lot in this one.
So this is from a fellow Zach, as he pointed out, but conversation about colored ice was brought up on the pod recently.
Yeah.
Made him think about the local ECHL team, the Kalamazoo Wings, and their Pride Night. Organization has a long tradition of doing unique colored ice games. Google the McDonald's-sponsored yellow game. In more recent years, they made history by painting the ice with Pride colors for their annual Pride Night game. Used to run an in-arena audio for the team. He says, I do not know if they were the first, but I also believe the idea for the green ice game for St. Patrick's Day gained traction due to it being a popular Kalamazoo K-Wings tradition starting in 1982, though I wouldn't be surprised if Jeff has the true answer tucked away in his curious brain somewhere. Love the pod. Keep up the good work. A fellow Zach.
That is Zach Perry.
Also, not the only,
by the way.
Yes, not the only Sprong truther he also included.
I like that one, Sprong truther. Okay, so as far as, first of all, I guess not the real answer, but the most recent answer is, 1992 Kalamazoo Wings. We'll always considered the first. But here's the technicality. You knew there'd be something like this. So I think it's 47 or 46? Somewhere in there. The NHL started coloring their ice, and they still color their ice. They color it white.
Yeah. Because
it was hard to see the puck with the grayish ice, which is the actual color of ice. I think it was 47 they started painting it. Maybe it was earlier than that. And then when Hockey Night in Canada debuted, 1952, they found that the white ice was too bright for the cameras. So they infused the white with blue to make the puck appear more. So the NHL has always used colored ice. Going back to the 40s, it's just been white. So which one do you think is right? Kalamazoo in 92 or the NHL in some year in the 40s when they started to paint the gray ice, which is the color of ice, white.
Yeah.
And then when Hockey Night in Canada debuted, they colored it blue. Infused it with blue. So what is the real answer? I won't bias the jury.
That, actually.
Yeah. Ice. Oh, by the way, Philly ice isn't white. I don't know if you know this.
Yeah,
okay, I'm just go look at the cubes in your freezer. Is it white? They come out. Oh, these white. Cool.
It's like the conversation, like, is water blue or what, how does the water get like that? Yeah. Well, because I was going to say, you would probably be familiar. I'm going to localize this one and alienate people. I'm sorry. But in Barrie, there is, I don't know if they still have it, but there's rinks there where the ice is gray. And it's because they don't paint.
They don't paint it.
Yeah, so the ice is gray. But yeah, I don't know. I thought that was interesting. That was a good email.
All right, do we have one more, or are we getting too heavy on time? You make the
Let's
call.
do one more here. We'll
Okay.
wrap this one up quickly on this because it's quick. But hey, Jeff, great show. Love the daily podcast. On the last episode with Greg, he gave us the top 5 food-related hockey names. Bob Beers and Père de Jus.
Pear juice.
Rankings. Père
Juice. Yeah.
But here are a few more. Will Butcher, Rico Fata, Larry Goodenough, Wasey
Rabbit. Oh, I love Wasey Rabbit. Great guy,
never
too.
played in the NHL. But Swiss player Jean-Rico Cola. Keep up the great work. Greg Savoy from Australia.
So, yeah, you know what? There's one that we really missed on. Oh, I don't have time to grab the name of the person that sent it off to me, but it's true. I'm going to see if there's I'm going to see how much of a gap there is between us right now. Okay?
Okay.
There's one name that we totally forgot. And he should be number one. He's a former goaltender. His name is Kari Taco. Takko. Does that name resonate with you? Do you know Kari Taco?
No.
You ever heard that name? Okay, then you're gonna love this part of the. There are a lot of people right now that are screaming at you, I'm sure, in the chat. Do you know who Kari Taco was traded for?
Oh, no.
Bruce Bell.
No.
It's a true story. Taco Bell trade.
Imagine that Bob McKenzie
My
tweet.
favorite.
The deal's 1 for 1. Taco for Bell.
Yeah, it's a legendary trade. Kari Taco for Bruce Bell. It's almost as if the two managers got together and said, "We owe this to hockey. I don't want to trade this player. You don't want to trade this player, but we owe it to hockey to have a Taco Bell trade. Kari Taco for Bruce Bell." Go to your hockey DB. Go look up either guy. It's a true story for those of you that don't know. This is the wonderful thing about working in the industry for as long as I did. Every 10 years, you get to tell the same stories over and over again. Because there's like a whole new generation of people that don't know about the Taco Bell trade.
No, and that one will be a fun fact that I'll pull up. It'll be my bar trick this weekend.
Is that going to be your
Did
bar
you
trick?
know that they traded Taco for Bell?
Taco Bell. So the Taco Alberga. Come on, you got to know that man. Rosie, geez, I'm ashamed for you. Start pulling that card out. Start pulling that one. All right, games tonight. There's only 2 of them. And young Zach will be working one of them. FanDuel, proud to connect fans to the major sports moments that matter to them. Roster updates courtesy of Daily Faceoff's fantasy Twitter/X feed. And listen, I'm going to turn the recreation over to you on this one to tee us up. I think the Avalanche look outstanding. To me, they look terrifying. And we said Peter DeBoer yesterday talk about it. They may not get Heiskanen back until the second round. I don't know that Dallas will be there if they have to face, and they probably will. Well, they will. Like no one's catching Winnipeg. It's only a matter of home ice. We're going to get Colorado and Dallas in the first round. Avalanche are facing off against the Maple Leafs. Kraken are taking on the Minnesota Wild. Hey, by the way, how'd you like Shane Wright popping in 2 goals while playing on the Czechs Notes 4th line last night for the Seattle Kraken? I know they spot dutied him all over the place, but 4th line for Shane Wright last night. Still snaps in a couple. Avalanche and Maple Leafs. I know Toronto's coming off a big win against the Calgary Flames where we were looking at bridges and seeing which floats fit underneath. But Avalanche are good, man. Avalanche look really good. How are you handicapping this one? What are you looking at here, young Zach?
Look, I can't really say it much better than what Craig Berube said because he also only talked about one of the guys that you have to worry about. He was asked about, how do you slow down Nathan MacKinnon tonight? And he's like, well, if you find out, let me know before the game. That's pretty much what we're looking at. Can you stop MacKinnon? Okay, you've succeeded at mission 1. Now the other guy, Cale Makar, can you stop him? And if you've done those 2 things, you still have to worry about does 34 and 16 want to show up the way they did the other night? Because if they didn't play the way they did against Calgary, that is, you've got a shot. If they don't, you might get run out of the building by the Avalanche here tonight. Scotiabank Library, as it's often referred to. Could get a little sleepy on a Wednesday night, Jeff, if they don't start on time here tonight.
I'm looking forward. This one could be a dynamite game. This one could be awesome. And I'm looking forward to After Dark in case things don't go the way the Maple Leafs wanted to. Always an entertaining.
We'll see.
Entertaining program.
We'll see.
Hey, bud, great job booking the show today. I look forward to having other members of the York Simcoe Express, your Sam Bennett's, your Connor McDavid's, your Quentin Byfield's,
Morgan
your Chris
Frost
Cherney's.
and Quinn Byfield tomorrow.
Okay, very good. Yeah, let's go. Follow it. I mean, I mentioned like Daniel Sweep. Give me Daniel Sweep, man. That guy was tough, huge, like 6'8", playing junior. No one's sound. Who's that?
Yeah.
Good Lord. All right. Thanks to Robert Thomas for stopping by. Thanks to the St. Louis Blues for making him available. Much appreciated. Thank you very much to Erin Ambrose, as always, and the Montreal Victoire for making her available. Thanks for joining me today. Again, a little bit long. We should just say the show is like this long and just call it a day. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Thanks for everyone watching live on YouTube or in the archive or on your favorite podcast platform. Marek signing off. Enjoy the rest of your day. Only a pair of games tonight. Enjoy them. We're back tomorrow. Young Philly in Nashville. And he wants to work. You hear all the shows the guy's doing? Like I told him, like, Philly, you got the job. It's okay. Take a couple of days. Guy's a worker. We got a worker bee, folks. Thanks for joining me today. Back tomorrow, 3 o'clock Eastern for The Sheet. Tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock Eastern. It is, of course, yours and my favorite program, Morning Cup of Hockey, Daily Faceoff live at noon, and then our act at 3. Got it? Got it. Good. And talk to you tomorrow. If you enjoyed that video, and we certainly hope that you do, please hit the subscribe button right there here at Daily Faceoff. I will put this lineup up against any hockey lineup anywhere. It all gets underway at 9 o'clock Eastern with Morning Cup of Hockey. That is Johnny Lazarus. That is Colby Cohen. Then at noon, it's DFO Live. And then 3 o'clock Eastern, The Sheet. Get caught up on everything in hockey.